Welcome back, it's JWalter here, and here's your latest California housing market update. This is my second video that I'm going to be doing regarding the California housing market. If you missed my previous video, I posted that a couple of days ago. In that previous video, I went over in general what we're seeing across the state in California, but in today's video, I'm going to be sharing how each of the major regions and also the major cities within California fared, because there was actually some really big differences here. So anyways, that's the topic of today's video. And I hope you get a lot of value out of today's video. I make these California housing market updates, twice a month. So anyways, let's go ahead and dive right in. This actually was just published 2 days ago on the 19th. Let me just give you a very, very brief background about what we're seeing overall in the state. So existing home sales in California actually were up by 0.5% from February. So compared to 1 month ago, home sales are up about 0.5%. Fairly flat. However, they're down 4.4% compared to March of 2021. And we've reached an all-time record high for the median sold price in California, almost surpassing $850,000. That's a giant increase of 10.1% from February and a big increase of 11.9% from a year ago. What we're not seeing just yet across the nation, and also really in California, is the true effects regarding these spiking mortgage rates. Because as you guys know, if you follow the channel, mortgage rates have increased about 2% compared to the start of this year. And we're not seeing the true effects regarding this spike in mortgage rates just yet on our housing market. We're seeing some small increases in housing inventory, and I'm gonna be sharing some data with you guys here in just a little bit here. One of the reasons why we're seeing record high home prices in California is because we're seeing more multi-million-dollar home sales. So it says the share of multi-million-dollar home sales increased for the second consecutive month in California, surging to 32.9% in March, the highest level on record. So out of all the home sales in March in California, 33% of those were over $1 million. In any case, that's a brief overview about what we're seeing in our housing market in California. But let's dive into what we're seeing at a regional level and also how each of the major cities fared as well. At a regional level in California, home sales in all major California regions except the Central Valley recorded sales decreases on a year-over-year basis. The Central Coast region recorded the sharpest sales declines in all regions again, dropping 20.1% from a year ago. So the Central Coast decreased in home sales by 20% compared to 1 year ago. Pretty big differences there. However, as it says here, housing demand in the Central Coast was very, very strong 1 year ago. Sales actually increased 31.8% in March of 2021 compared to March of 2020. So a sizable dip this year was anticipated. Meanwhile, 2/3 or 62.7% of all counties that are tracked by the California Association of Realtors experienced a decline in existing home sales from 1 year ago, compared to 72.5% the prior month. So in other words, we saw more home sales declines back in February compared to March of this year. Okay, let's talk about home prices in California. So home prices in all major California regions, and I believe there's around 7 major regions that they break it up into, but that continued to surge from last year by double digits. So home prices are increasing by double digits in all the major regions in California. The Central Coast region recorded the highest year-over-year price growth with a 20.4% increase. That's pretty astonishing because on a historical level, it's more normal to have home prices increase in the range of 3 to 6%, not 20.4%, which in my opinion is definitely not sustainable. In any case, that was followed by the Central Valley at 19.3% increase compared to 1 year ago for home prices. In stark contrast, the far north was the only region that did not set a new median high price in March. So all the other major regions in California reached all-time record highs in March. At the county level for home prices, 25 counties set new record highs in March. 46 out of the 51 counties tracked by CAR experienced increases in their median prices in March, and 38 of them rose by more than 10% compared to 1 year ago. Here's something to be absolutely mind-blowing. So Santa Cruz actually posted the biggest year-over-year price gains at 45.5% compared to 1 year ago. So the median sold price in Santa Cruz as of March 2022 increased compared to March 2021 by 45.5%, and the average home price there is over $1.5 million. In contrast, 5 counties within the state had a decrease in home prices compared to 1 year ago, with Mono dropping the most at 35.3%, followed by Lassen at 3.6%, and Monterey a decrease of 2.1%. There's something I want to bring to your attention though, because the average 30-year fixed rate mortgage in March averaged 4.17%. So obviously this is when home prices were increasing because mortgage rates have not increased to the levels we're seeing right now. So as of the 20th of April, which is the most recent data we have at the time of this video, the average right now is 5.27%. That's a big increase of 2.1 percentage points compared to 1 year ago. And also look at this, because starting at the beginning of the year, mortgage rates shot up greatly. So basically, at the beginning of January of this year, rates were in the range of around 3.3%. Now they're at 5.3%. So when we're talking about stats for March here, this is really when rates were in the range of like 3 to 3.5%, not 5.27%. Okay, let me briefly share some graphics with you guys, and then I'm gonna be going over how each of the major regions and cities fared, so stay tuned for that. So this is again for March 2022. As a whole, the median sold price in California reached $849,000. Of course, that was an all-time record high. The previous record, by the way, was $827,000, I believe. That was set in June of last year. We're at all-time record highs right now. The unsold inventory index was only at 1.7 months, and the average days on the market, or the time it took to sell a house, was only 8 days across the state. So let's talk about each of the major regions in California. So in Southern California, the median sold price was $802,500 in March. That's a 13.8% gain compared to 1 year ago. Inventory is very, very low. Houses are selling very quickly. And also the sales price to list price ratio was 103.9%. That basically means that homes in March sold for 3.9% over the seller's asking price on average. The Central Coast, the average home price there is $1.05 million. That's a big increase of 20.4%. Of course, houses are selling very quickly, and we have a lack of houses available for sale, and houses are selling for over the asking price. In the Central Valley, our median sold price for March was $495,000, a big increase of 19.3% from a year ago. Houses selling very quickly as well, and homes selling for over the asking price as well. In the San Francisco Bay Area, the median sold price was $1.4 million, a gain of 18% compared to March 2021. Of course, houses selling very quickly, of course, a lack of inventory as well. But look at this, 112.2%, a big ratio. So that basically means that home sellers are getting 12% more than their asking price on average. And we're not talking about $300,000 houses. We're talking about houses, well over $1 million. The far north in California was the most affordable region at $395,000, a gain of only 12.9%. I say only, that's really like 4 times historical levels, but not as high as other regions in California. In this region, inventory is a little bit higher, and also it took a little bit longer to sell a house at 14 days. And the sales price to list price ratio was 100.0%, which basically means on average, home sellers are getting their asking price. So here's something I found to be very interesting. So in Southern California, home sales decreased compared to 1 year ago by 7.5%. But in the Central Valley, home sales increased for the second consecutive month. So home sales actually increased by 2.8% compared to 1 year ago, versus in Southern California, a decline of 7.5%. Okay, let me briefly share home prices by county within the state here. So here's the percent sold above their asking price. This is very common here for Alameda County, for example, and San Francisco, Santa Clara, for houses to sell for well over the asking price. So in Alameda, for example, 93% of the houses that sold in that county in March sold for over their asking price. And we're also seeing that in Santa Clara, San Francisco, San Mateo, Contra Costa County, and Marin County as well, all above 80%. So the vast majority of those counties selling for over the asking price. In stark contrast though, look at Lassen. Only 10% of the houses that sold in March 2022 sold above the asking price. Also at low levels were Mono, Siskiyou, Plumas, Mariposa, Lake, and Tehama counties within the state. In Sacramento, where I live and work as a real estate agent, approximately 70% sold above their asking price in March. One very important trend that I want to bring to your attention that I did mention in my previous video, but this is very, very important in my opinion. This is the number of active listings, which is another word for housing inventory. So active listings across the state increased for the first time in 33 months. Have a look at this. Back in July 2019, was basically the first month where we saw a decrease in year-over-year active listings compared to 1 year ago. But right now, as of March, we have an increase of 8.4% in the number of active listings compared to 1 year ago, the first time in 33 months. As you can see here, more new listings were added than the prior year for the first time since June 2021. So as of March, as you can see here, we have a big increase in the number of new active listings in California. We had 22,743 new listings in March. That surpassed last year's levels at 22,488 and also well above 2020 as well. This increase in new listings in March is obviously a positive trend. We want to see this number increase in order to balance out this housing market. However, when we compare these numbers compared to pre-COVID 2018 and 2019 in March, we're still at low levels because in 2018 we had 25,000 new listings, and in 2019 in March we had 26,000 or over 26,000. Now we only have less than 23,000 active new listings in March 2022. Okay, changing gears slightly, let's talk about how each of the major regions and each of the cities in California fared regarding home prices and home sales for March 2022. So for the entire state of California, for single family houses, that reached 849,000. That's a gain of 11.9%. For condos and townhomes, the average prices there at 661,000, far less than the single family houses. Look at that, a big increase of 19.6% in home prices or condo prices compared to 1 year ago, versus only a 12% gain compared to 1 year ago for single family houses. Have a look at this because in Central Valley, the median home price there is $495,000. Compare that to 1 year ago, we were at $415,000. That's a gain of 19.3% compared to 1 year ago. The Central Coast was the biggest gainer there at 20.4%, and home prices there are just over $1 million. But have a look at the San Francisco Bay Area. The median sold price was $1.4 million. So basically you have to pay $1 million more to buy a house there versus the Central Valley. And that's one reason why we're seeing a lot of people move to the Central Valley due to affordability issues. Okay, let's talk about each of the major cities within the San Francisco Bay Area and have a look at these prices here. It's pretty remarkable. $1.4 million in Alameda County, Marin at $1.7 million, San Francisco at $2 million, San Mateo County $2.28 million was the median sold price in March 2022. Compare that to March 2021, it was $1.985 million. That's a gain of 14.9%. Santa Clara just under $2 million, a big increase of 21.9%. And Alameda County was the biggest county that had the highest increases in home prices compared to a year ago at 23%. Okay, let's talk about Southern California. So Orange County had the most expensive houses there, or on average at $1.3 million. But look at that, 27.3% increase compared to a year ago. 1 year ago, home prices there were just over $1 million, but home sales actually declined the most at 19.4%. In the Central Coast, look at this. Monterey County at $911,000 was the average sold price there. Compare that to 1 year ago, it was $931,000. One of the few counties we saw where home prices decreased compared to a year ago because home prices decreased by 2.1%. And in stark contrast, in Santa Cruz County, which is basically like a half an hour away from Monterey County, in Santa Cruz, $1.6 million compared to Santa Barbara at $1.3 million. And in Santa Cruz, home prices increased 45.5%. Look at that. 1 year ago is $1.1 million. Pretty remarkable. Central Valley, Kern County, home prices increased 19% there. Merced, 21%. Big gains here. Sacramento, the median sold price was $560,000. Compared to 1 year ago, it was $485,000. Home prices increased 15%. And look at that, home sales increased greatly compared to last month and increased slightly compared to a year ago as well there. San Joaquin had a big increase in home prices there as well, 20% increase compared to a year ago. The far north, Lassen County was actually the most affordable county within the state at $243,000, but home prices actually decreased by 3.6% there. Plumas County, this is really interesting to see this because in Plumas County, Home prices only increased 1.7%. I remember doing these videos earlier on during this pandemic, and Plumas County was actually absolutely skyrocketing. So maybe one reason why we're only seeing a small increase is because they saw a giant increase in March of 2021 compared to March 2020. In any case, Siskiyou and Tehama all had really big gains compared to a year ago for home prices. Other counties within the state had big increases in home prices compared to March 2021, where Del Norte, 28.8%, Humboldt County, Mariposa, and Sutter, Tuolumne, Yolo, and Yuba. But look at that, Mono County home prices decreased by 35.3%. Mendocino County prices there have decreased by 0.8%. All right, so one last slide that I want to share with you guys, and this is a slide I don't normally share, but I found this to be very interesting. So across the state, the average price per square foot was $418. For a condo or a townhome, that was actually $570 was the price per square foot on average. In the Central Valley, the price per square foot was $287 in March 2022. The far north at $248. But look at the San Francisco Bay Area. The average price per square foot was $821 compared to the Central Valley at $287. Something else I found to be very interesting was the sales price to list price ratio and how that varied by each of the major regions and counties within California. So as a whole, across the state, that ratio was at 103.9% compared to a year ago. It was basically 102%. For condos, look at that. 105.2% compared to 100% 1 year ago. So on average, people who are selling condos in March 2022 sold it for over 5.2% over their asking price, which is actually more than single family houses. In the San Francisco Bay Area, they had the biggest ratio there at 112.2%. So on average, home sellers sold their houses for 12% over their asking price, which is pretty remarkable there. And have a look at how high these ratios are for the San Francisco Bay Area. Alameda County was 119.7%, Marin County 14% over, San Francisco at 122.6%, and in San Mateo County, the average sales price to list price ratio was actually 115.1%. This is pretty mind-blowing because, again, as you guys saw, the median sold price in San Mateo there was basically at $2.3 million. What that basically means is that on average, home sellers there are selling their houses for $340,000 more than their asking price. When you compare this to the median sold price across the nation, the median sold price on average in the entire nation is at $375,000. So in other words, houses are actually selling for almost more over their asking price than the average home price across the nation. So let that sink in for a little bit. So other counties I thought would be worth mentioning is Orange County, a ratio of 105.4%. San Diego, approximately the same levels there. In Santa Cruz, the ratio is 106.9%. So sellers selling for 6.9% over asking. In Sacramento is 104.0%, slightly less compared to 1 year ago. But in contrast though, have a look at this because in Lassen, Plumas County, Siskiyou, and Tehama counties all selling for less on average than the seller's asking price. We also saw that in Lake County and Mono County as well. So comment below with your biggest takeaways from today's video. Also, if you got any value out of this video, then please hit the like button. I greatly appreciate that. Hope you have an awesome day and look forward to seeing you on the next video.